Well guys, I think Netflix may have a new classic series on their hands. Hey there guys, what's going on? Welcome back to yet another installment of TV Thoughts. As per, I thank you all so much for stopping by the channel today, and I hope you enjoy your stay. And yes, this time around we're looking at brand new Netflix exclusive series Shadow and Bone. This series is of course based off the famous Grisha-verse novels by Lee Badrugo. And yes, y'all have seen the trailers for this thing by this point. I have heard so much buzz surrounding Shadow and Bone, and I finally got a chance to sit through all 8 episodes in their entirety, so let's dive right in. This series is set in a war-torn country called Ravka, which is plagued by the Shadow Fold. And the Shadow Fold is basically this big giant wall of permanent darkness separating the east side from the west side of the country. And this fold is also inhabited by carnivorous winged creatures known as the Volcra. Our hero is orphan cartographer Alina Starkov, who discovers that she's a Grisha, a magic user with the legendary power to create light. And this could be the key to setting her country free from the Shadow Fold. So Alina is torn from everything she knows to train as part of an elite army of Grisha, and they're serving under General Kirigan, the Shadow Summoner. But as she struggles to hone her power, she finds that allies and enemies can be one and the same, and that nothing in this lavish world is what it seems. And there's also some other treacherous forces at play, including a charismatic crew of criminals called the Crows, who I'll certainly get to talking about. And Alina eventually learns that it'll take more than just simply her new powers to survive all of it. So keep in mind, I'm sitting here as someone who knew precisely nothing about these books. Matter of fact, I didn't even know they existed. But yet, going into this thing, I was still really curious to find out what this was all about. Because I'm clearly a huge fan of the fantasy genre. I grew up with the Harry Potter series specifically, and I'm all about seeing some new entries into this genre. New epic miraculous wars surrounding magic and monsters. And that's not to say that Shadow and Bone is anything like Harry Potter. These are two completely different animals. But you get me. I'm a huge fantasy geek. And if there's one thing I can tell you all right off the bat, even if you're not a huge fan of these novels, you're gonna find a lot to enjoy about this series, just like I did. I found Shadow and Bone incredibly fun, and a lot of these mystical elements that this season introduces, I found myself always fascinated by them, and I continue to want to learn more about them. And this all brings me into what I think is the best thing working for Shadow and Bone, the world building. It seems like these developers and these showrunners had a tall task on their plates, because this is a vast world with loads of colorful characters who interact and commingle among all these very unique locations, all while possessing some equally unique powers. And I think this show does a wonderful job of presenting these to us in a way that we can all understand. Just like a Game of Thrones, which I think this show is bound to draw comparisons to, the show is very easily accessible to a casual viewer not familiar with the source material. Except in a way, this show may be even more accessible than Game of Thrones was. I know, crazy to say. But I bring up that point, and I think it can be more accessible than Game of Thrones because even though Shadow and Bone does have some scary elements to it, all while we can see some pretty brutal violence sprinkled in there, this isn't TVMA or anything like Game of Thrones was. I think this can be more widely accessible to a far wider range of age groups. And I honestly believe that within Shadow and Bone, everybody can find something to invest themselves in, including these characters, which, speaking of, this series introduces us to a bevy of colorful characters. And I found them really cool for the most part, and these performers all do an excellent job bringing them to life. Our hero, as I mentioned, is Alina Starkov, played by Jessie Lee, and she has this power to literally bring light into the darkness, so to speak. I thought she not only gave a great performance, but she also brings a lot of energy and passion to this part, which is a plus, seeing as how, you know, she's your lead. Now, while I'm at it, I think one issue that I have with Shadow and Bone is that this character and the character of Mal, played by Archie Renaux, I don't know, they just seem like more traditional heroes. Sure, their connection and friendship is really nice, and their chemistry is very good on screen, but they just feel more traditional compared to some of these other side characters that we're introduced to. You know, like Kaz and his gang of crows. Let me just say that the crow sequences were the most fun to watch out of this whole slate of 8 episodes. episodes. It almost felt like I was watching a heist film set in the wizarding world whenever these guys popped on screen. Two things I absolutely love melded all into one. That's a recipe for success, isn't it? Now, Kaz is played here by Freddy Carter, and he has such an amazing presence as this charismatic, gambling, Sky Masterson-esque anti-hero. I'm not gonna give any spoilers away, of course, but this guy isn't just bad news. He's also got some morals to his actions, and I thought Freddy Carter brought depth to this character in ways that nobody else could have. Amita Suman as Inej is such a cool character as well. I'm not gonna lie, I'm siding with my buddy Real James on this, but I was shipping her and Kaz super hard. And trust me, this could obviously change if they decide to go deeper into this world and they decide to give us more seasons, which I'll certainly get to. But without spoiling it, they just seem to be really good friends to me from the looks of it. I've also got to talk about Kit Young as Jesper while I'm on this crew. He is such a cool, suave character who is the much-needed comic relief to offset a lot more of these intensely dramatic moments. Which, don't get it twisted, he also gets some awesome moments to shine in his own right. He actually reminded me a lot of Idris Elba's character from the movie The Dark Tower. You know, he's the gunslinger. He's the guy who's skillfully twirling the pistols in his hands all while mowing people down. Except Kit Young in this case is less mysterious, and he's a lot more out there and entertaining to watch. Not to say Idris Elba isn't entertaining in The Dark Tower, but let me just say that Kit Young approaches this part very differently. But my favorite character in this series, bar none, was General Kerrigan, played by Ben Barnes. God, I haven't seen Ben Barnes in a new project in a really long time. Prince Caspian, I think, was the last time I saw him. Jesus, I feel old. But watch him in this series. This dude can act. Barnes has such a dynamic presence as this shadow summoner. He carries himself on screen so incredibly well. His presence is there. His mystique is there. His ominous glares are certainly there. Maybe most importantly, his chemistry with the protagonist is there. Ben Barnes has all the tools. Hollywood, please, I beg you, give this guy more work. He is a diamond in the rough. Really, really fucking good actor, and he proves it here as the General. Now, I thought these 8 episodes were pretty smooth sailing for the most part. They're extremely fun to watch, but this does bring me into some other issues that I have with the series as a whole. I do think the pacing can be a bit wishy-washy. Now, without getting too deep into spoilers, Shadow and Bone is told in a non-linear format. Just a fair warning, there are loads of flashbacks and cutaways to kind of help out with the character development. Now, normally flashbacks and cutaways in a big show like this would be fine, but I do have a bit of an issue with the way these are written in this project. For the most part, these flashbacks will come after certain characters say, hey, remember when this, and this happened? God, I can't believe I'm saying this, but they Family Guy'd us. Except in Family Guy, all those cutaways I find really funny. In Family Guy, the cutaways are played for comedy, mainly to get a joke across through the use of analogies. But if these cutaways are presented more seriously, it kind of makes me think that these writers weren't placing enough trust in their audience. And this series, to me, could feel kind of bogged down by these heavy exposition scenes. And I realize that exposition is necessary to set up a big world like this, but what I'm saying is, it's how you provide us with the exposition that can make or break it. Now, one other thing while I'm on the subject of issues. There are 2 characters by the names of Nina and Matthias in this series, and they share a special bond and relationship together. I'm sorry, these scenes between them just weren't doing it for me. It's not because the performances are bad. I'm not taking anything away from them. The actors are certainly giving it their all. But for the purposes of the story this season was trying to tell, I hate to say it, these scenes felt very distracting. They almost feel like characters that could have been more effective if the showrunners waited until perhaps a later season to introduce them. And I think this is a huge flaw because these 2 are given loads of screen time, especially as you get towards this big giant finale. And that really bothered me because, again, no spoilers, but there's a lot of exciting shit going on towards the fold. And they kept cutting back to these 2, and I was like, no, there's more exciting stuff over here. Anyway, despite a pretty subpar finale and some pretty convoluted minor story issues that I had loads of fun with Shadow and Bone, I can't lie. And I think the cards are certainly on the table for these showrunners to expand even more with a 2nd season, and I'm definitely eager to see what's next. I'm gonna give Shadow and Bone an A-. And yes, I said it, I don't think this is gonna be the only season of Shadow and Bone, which really excites me. Without getting too deep into spoilers, the writers certainly left the door open for them to continue with another another season if they wanted to. Alls I have to say to that, the ball is in Netflix's court. If I were Netflix, I would take the ball and run with it, because Shadow and Bone I thought was pretty damn great. This is all just one guy's opinion though. What do you guys think of Shadow and Bone? Do you agree with me? Do you not? Who is your favorite character in the series? Do you guys want to see a season 2? Also, I'm curious, have any of my viewers read the novels, and what do you think of them? Should I read them? Because I'm honestly thinking about it. As you guys know, I love making these videos and discussing all facets of entertainment with you guys. I love starting the discussion. Let's continue that discussion further down there in the comments, shall we? And hey, if this is your first time checking out one of my videos, welcome. Please consider hitting that subscribe button down below as hard as you possibly can, especially if you enjoy discussing cinema and all things entertainment just like I do. And I'll tell you what, if you guys subscribe, you guys will be the first ones to know anytime I upload a new video. And it's also free too, so you know, there's that. And one last reminder, guys, please feel free to leave a thumbs up on your way out, especially if you enjoyed the review. That would be awesome. And as always, look out for more exciting content hitting this channel very, very soon. You guys are the best. And with all that being said, back talk, commence.